But one of the problems with politics and one of the problems with public speaking and being charismatic is a lot of these people are just really good at being full of shit. And because they're really good at being full of shit, a lot of slack-jawed dum-dums out there buy into it, hook, line, and sinker, wave that flag and kiss those babies, and they vote these dummies into office. And this happens time and time again. Yeah. So saying these people need to be aware of the consequences or they need to be held accountable, I firmly believe there's more sociopaths than we really think. I really do. I think if you look at the general consensus is something like, what is it, 1 out of 100 or something like that? What do they think it is? Maybe more? I think it might be 10%. I think there's a lot of people that get through life doing things and getting away with things and not doing things that are going to cause them either danger or social consequences, but they manage to get through life with a song and a dance. Yeah. But they're not genuine. And I think this is a giant problem with people that want to be in a position of power in the first place. Yes. Like, why would they, like, why does a guy like Donald Trump want to be the fucking president? When you have billions of dollars in the bank, like, what are you doing? Yeah. Why are you doing that? Yeah. Well, there's a weird motivation that a lot of these people have. And that motivation is to be the Uber, to be the king, to be the top of the heap, to be the queen, whatever it is. I don't know how you change that in those people. I don't think making them aware of the consequences of their decisions is going to work. It's just the type of people who they are in the first place.
I think you're not wrong. However, I've just seen over the last few years the level of awareness amongst people, amongst voters, has been increasing as there are more and more kind of non-mainstream media outlets that are shining light on these kinds of issues. And
when you say non-mainstream, so meaning, do you think that mainstream have been holding back?
I think that especially, I think that you only get a certain narrative. Right. And it depends and it changes based on what channel you flick to or whatever.
Because if you vary in that narrative, then you get less access.
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
So you get less access to the people that you want to have on those shows because that's how you get your ratings in the first place.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and that's the problem with a lot of these news channels is it is driven by ratings. And if you're bringing in differing viewpoints and differing perspectives, I don't know, maybe it affects their ratings. I don't know. I don't pay too much attention to that. But I do know that when you look at, guys like Jimmy Dore, for example. Yes. Jimmy Dore talks about a lot of things that you'll never hear if you flick on the TV, on the cable news channels, and has very interesting conversations. And again, bringing facts and different things to life that people don't otherwise feel like they have access to.
Well, there's way more of that today than there ever has been before.
Exactly. And that's where I see there's opportunity. And because the more people are learning, like, holy crap, this is what you're doing. This is the consequences of those decisions. Because there's a ton of votes that happen every single day in Congress that most people don't know about unless you're really following it closely yourself, which is that in of itself is a job that CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, they're not covering. So really a lot of kind of these alternative sites and voices are coming through that are helping to inform and educate people. Yeah,
the idea of trying to educate politicians on the consequences and what that really means, and the cavalier attitude that you were talking about, like, what's a worst example of that? Like when you were talking about cavalier behavior by these people that make these decisions, like, what kind of things have you seen?
Well, I'll speak to something that happened most recently. I think there are probably a number of examples, but just a couple of months ago in the big defense authorization bill that is kind of one of the only must-pass pieces of legislation in Congress every year, there was a 3-page provision that was kind of put in there without really any debate in the committee or anything like that, that would essentially authorize the United States to go to war with Iran. Now, you would think something like that with that magnitude would be kind of a big deal. You would want to have hearings. You would want to be a question on strategy, objectives, costs, like all of these different things. That didn't happen. So when this bill came to the floor of the House, where all 435 members of Congress have the ability to vote yes or no. I just put in an amendment that would have deleted those 3 pages from this big thousands-page bill. And basically those provisions said that Congress is authorizing the Secretary of State and the Secretary of Defense to create and implement a strategy to counter Iran. Not just come and, hey, bring us your strategy and let us talk about it and see whether or not we agree and approve. It was giving the power to the Secretary of State and Secretary of Defense to create and implement a strategy to counter Iran. Extremely dangerous and a blank check to essentially start a brand new war that currently has not been declared. I introduced this amendment. I don't know if you want to take a guess on how many people voted for it.
How many?
60. 60.
Why wouldn't they?
Exactly.
Why would they want that blank check?
There are some people who legitimately do want us to go to war with Iran.
Well, who are those people?
You
don't have to name names. But
there are, I would say it's a bipartisan feeling.
And why do they want that?
Because Iran, they feel that Iran is a threat to both the United States and Israel. And Iran is and has been for a long time, they feel, a menace, I guess, essentially, and our enemy. Even though Congress has not declared war, even though, our country just signed a nuclear deal to make it so that they can't build a nuclear weapon, it gets to a point where it seems like hysteria. But again, it's not based on an actual thinking through tactically and strategically and responsibly what we're actually doing and what our policy is.